Welcome to another week of Austin Oli, a sports podcast with your host, Oli and Austin. And apparently, this is a show just full of jinx. Anything that we say will not happen, total opposite.
Yeah, it's crazy.
A little bit of preview of it. Ravens played last night, snapped their streak at 24 versus the Commanders. And we had just talked about it last week, how they're for sure lock, basically. If you want to add something to your parlay, you should do it. And if you're aware of Book It with Trent on Twitter, he smashed their money line and they lost. So I blame him, not us. There's some other jinx that we'll get to, obviously, but other stuff that we're going to hit on. We got a couple segments. Austin's going to be doing a little college segment. Can't wait for that. A little AU. And I'll be doing some baseball stuff too. Some baseball stuff that we're going to talk about is that we went from paper tickets to your phone to now you just need your face to enter baseball games. It's kind of weird. We'll talk about that. And is there a Rangers outfielder in the hot seat, knowing that there's a prospect down there waiting to get up? He's just battling and waiting to see. Maybe. We'll see. But we'll get going with it was a good weekend, at least for Premier League for the both of us.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. I honestly don't think I could be as excited as I have been in a while. I know I kind of mentioned it in the Premier League preview a couple weeks ago, but we went through some dark days, and then just Ange, the type of soccer, that the front foot, just the way that they kind of took it to United the whole game, and it was entertaining. I think was kind of something that's pretty exciting. And then Chelsea's pretty abysmal, and West Ham.
We'll get to that.
I think it looked all right, but
I think Chelsea or West Ham's just a bigger club. I think West Ham's just a bigger club than Chelsea. But yeah, go ahead.
I'll agree with you there. I'm not a big Chelsea guy. But yeah, no, it started off Spurs 2-0 win over Manchester United. Really kind of like I said, I think that the majority of the game was pretty much played on the front foot. It was kind of back and forth until pretty much the entire first half, and it kind of ended 0-0 at half, but I would still say that it was pretty entertaining. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it or not, but I know we were talking in the group chat on Twitter and stuff like that, and it was entertaining, and things were going back and forth, but really some of the big things that I took away is Yves Bissouma is, we signed him in Brighton last year for Conte, and then just didn't really ever play. And honestly, I think Antonio Conte is an international criminal for some of the stuff and some of the decisions that he made, because the way that Yves Bissouma has been playing, and I said it last week and I said it the week before, that he's so crucial in the way that Postecoglou likes to kind of set up his system. And really since then, he's kind of shown to be, I would say, a top 3 midfielder in the entire Premier League. And, I want to, obviously I'm a homer, but I watch him week in and week out, and just the way he's playing and just dominating games, I don't see why he's not in the conversation for a top 5, at worst, a top 10 midfielder in the entire world. Just because just the form that he's in, and it's and him and Madison, James Madison, are just revolutionary. I kind of see it. And then to see where we were playing at last year, a 2-man midfield, and just we're just playing on the counter the entire time, and it was football terrorism. And to see kind of something like that is unbelievable. Another thing that I want to talk about is we had a 20-year-old Pap Matar Sarr from, I want to say he's from Senegal. And he started as well in the midfield next to Madison and Bissouma. And just the game that he played was unreal. I mean, he was all over the pitch. He scored the first goal. He really, him and Bissouma, basically just did in Casemiro the entire game. And to kind of dominate the midfield like that, and to put in a performance like that at 20, and to see somebody like Bellingham go to Real Madrid for 105 million pounds, or the money that Arsenal just played for Declan Rice. And I know they're not really the same kind of midfielder, but it's still to see something like that. And for Sarr to, I think we got him from France for maybe 15 or 20 million pounds. So something like that, and he's such a young cat that if he kind of keeps going, I mean, the sky's the limit for him, and it's exciting to see. But a lot of this is to say, I kind of mentioned it, but Antonio Conte, what he did to like basically suck the fun out of Spurs. And from somebody like under Poach was just like such a like energetic team. I mean, they were really young, really going. And then just to kind of like progressively get more and more defensive, play more and more on a back foot is just like, I don't think I can ever have a bigger disdain for a manager than I do for Antonio Conte. With this, like some of the stuff that he did, it just didn't make any sense.
Oh gosh.
And really the last thing, the last thing is, I think I don't think that we need to have it yet, but there's got to be a conversation coming with Richarlison. And
Oh yeah.
whether I think he's the perfect striker for the Postecoglou system, but he's got to put the ball in the net, and I think that's kind of his job, and it just has yet to happen. So, and he hasn't really looked great. I know he's had some hold up play and made some good runs, but still, I think at the end of the day, right, the goal of a striker and their main focus is to score goals, and when you're not doing that, you're not even really when you're not even getting shots off really. I think that's a conversation that needs to be had. I think that you need to give him a little bit of time and kind of adjust a little bit more, but still I think that like give it 5-6 games, and let's say by the end of September he hasn't scored a goal. I think that we need to kind of figure out do we put Son through the middle? What do we do? Because right now
I was about to say, because like what's your, like we talked about it last week briefly, like what's your other option at forward if it's not him? You said Son, maybe you put him in the middle. I don't know how he would work as a striker.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it's probably Son. I think that's what we subbed Richarlison off somewhere in the 75th minute range or something like that, maybe a little bit earlier. And they brought on Ivan Perisic for the left wing and then shifted Son to the center. So I think that they're like right now and Perisic ended up having the cross to Ben Davies, which and it ultimately led to the own goal. So
yeah,
I think Son has, I guess, is the option at this moment, but we got 105 million for Kane up front from Bayern. I think we have to reinvest it somewhere. And I don't know what you do. I know we've been linked with Brennan Johnson from Forest, so I mean maybe that's an option, but I don't know. It's we got to bring somebody in that I think can help in the short to intermediate term.
Yeah, I think that's what you got to do. Unless you still have time. I'm pretty sure transfer deadline's August 31st, correct?
Yeah, it should be the 31st.
Right, like end of the month. So like you still have. I mean, it's coming up. You got a week. So I mean, like you said, you got all that money. And if you play another game this weekend and you got to go, oh god, okay, maybe Richarlison's not the guy for us. So you got to go and try to find something short term, like you said, or even long term if you're lucky.
Yeah, and I think that I know I've seen a lot of smoke around. Like maybe a week ago, this time last week was like Gift Orban, that striker from Ghent or from Belgium, but now a lot has been about Brennan Johnson, so could be a good option. I mean, he's like 21 or 22. He can play on the wing. He can play striker. He's been really good for Forest. I mean, Forest was a relegation contender last year, and I think he had maybe 9 or 11 goals somewhere in that range, and can do a little bit of everything, which is pretty versatile and nice to have. So 22. English as well. I mean, there's always we're not in European competition right now, but there's like the homegrown issue that comes around. So, yeah, I don't know when. We'll see. We need to bring something in. So we got, who do we play this weekend? Bournemouth. I think we play Bournemouth this weekend. So not like anything too worried about it. I mean, we need to. Richarlison's. I think the goals will come. It's just. Say it doesn't here in the next week or so. I mean, we really got to have a conversation before the end of the deadline.
No, for sure. So let's see if y'all figure that out.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, man, the transition to your side of London, West Ham 3-1 win over Chelsea. Can say Paqueta bet on himself to dominate.
Oh God. That's that? For sure. The way he celebrated, he for sure had some money on him scoring a no-look pen in injury time for sure.
Yeah,
that's what he was trying to do. That whole speculation's crazy to me, with the yellow card and then like at the island or whatever.
And then you have and it's kind of crazy to see. I know we'll kind of talk about it a little bit later in the college football preview that I want to do, but I mean, there's so many athletes right now that are getting popped for betting and sports betting and just kind of showing that like, hey, like you can't really bet. And I don't know if I know that like a podcast just came out today with Ivan Toney from
Also,
Brentford
the Ivan
about
Toney one looks pretty good. Yeah.
yeah. So I that's kind of on my list to watch, but I know like just seeing like the stuff like that, and I think one of the clips that I saw from Tony was like, you know, I never bet on myself to like do anything bad. I only bet on myself to score, and I bet on like I was just betting on myself. So like you kind of see it that way, but still like it's just like kind of unethical areas. So
Yeah,
we'll
but then
see.
you,
But
I
no,
mean,
how
it
do you?
happens everywhere. It's crazy. Like, I mean, you had it back then. It
Yeah,
hasn't happened in baseball since who was? Do you
since Pete
remember who
Rose.
was? I was gonna say Pete Rose, the one that got caught. And I think ever since
Yeah,
then, it's like, okay, they did something serious to a really good player, so let's,
yeah,
maybe we shouldn't do this within ourselves or whatever. And like, but it happens with every sport, except for baseball now. Like I said, I think they're waiting for something big to happen, or just to like, instead of just like a smack in the hand and be like, hey, don't do that. It's
yeah.
just we see it
And
all over
I think
until I think something big happens. Happened in the
yeah,
NFL,
and I think
Calvin Ridley
Tony. I mean,
last year.
yeah, exactly. And Tony got what an 8 month ban or something like that. So that's
Yeah.
pretty significant. And he's somebody that is like pretty integral to his team. So I don't know, man.
And you could
Hopefully,
say in the prime of his career too.
yeah. I mean, what is he? 26, 27? Like just
I was
bagging
like
goals
26,
for
27,
like
but this year he just broke through and he got his first England call up.
yeah,
All this,
yeah,
and like
and
you
like
could say he bet on himself to be this good, and then he actually did,
yeah,
really. So
yeah, he did. So
maybe we shouldn't use that
yeah,
phrase
man.
anymore so lightly.
Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, so back to West Ham. How'd you feel about the game and kind of
West Ham, man.
have a chance to kind of
Yeah, no, I told you last week, not too many bad jinx. I kind of said, hey, we
yeah
usually do kind of good against Chelsea. We perform pretty
against
well.
Chelsea?
I don't know what it is, but like I said, in West Ham, or Chelsea, all that money they've spent, and still nothing, which is crazy to me. But no, I mean, I wasn't able to catch some of the game since stuff happened, but
Yeah,
watched the highlights, and I knew everybody was loving James Ward-Prowse on his very first start, which
yeah,
was
it's such
lovely.
a
He
good
got
signing.
2 assists, man. He's so good, bro. I think that really helped our midfield, like I said last week, to have someone else to having that holding mid position, or just
Yeah,
more fluently to get Paqueta to get more freedom up at the front,
up
which is
front.
kind of what happened. And then you got to see 15 minutes from Edson Alvarez, our
Yeah,
Mexican, and he's already a fan favorite. For 15 minutes, already making
okay.
compilations of him,
Making waves.
and they're like, oh, it's like,
Okay.
dude, this guy's he's gonna kill it. And I think he is. And Suchek had a really big game too. I think he really stepped up.
Yeah.
Other than getting absolutely cooked on the Chelsea goal, he got put in a blender. I was watching the highlights. My God.
Yeah, do you think? I'm assuming Edson is basically gonna be contending for Suchek's spot, right? Or is it kind of
Yeah,
like
that's what I guess. Because I think how the
those two,
starting
and then
lineup
like
came
Ward
out.
Prowse?
Yeah,
Because I guess
because I know we
it
sent
would probably. I
Fornals
would
out.
assume it. Yeah, because I would assume right, it'd be like almost like a Edson, uh, or Suchek, and then James Ward Prowse is like a double pivot with like allowing Paqueta kind of roll up into
Yeah,
like 10
that's what
slash
I'm saying. It's gonna be
second
tough.
striker
I
kind of
think what
spot.
it was primarily was that Suchek replacement, because he had a really good season with us the year before, not this
What,
past
2 years
season.
ago, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
2 years ago was really good. Winning headers and just being the Turkish guy, that Turkish Salah or something. There was like an inside joke within the club or whatever. But he
yeah,
was just beating everyone up, and then he just had a really like week last year. He looked really fatigued out there, but there was no one really else that we could play. And then
yeah.
now I
That
think
makes
he's
sense.
making it hard. I mean, you got your replacement. I guess that kind of was like, okay, maybe I should start like trying.
Start
And he
actually
looked really
playing.
good so
Yeah,
far the first 2 games. But I mean, I think it's a good problem to have. And like you can see, you can maybe get 15, 30 minutes of Edson. I wish I could watch him play the whole game. But if Suchek earns that
yeah,
spot, he's been there for longer. So we'll see how it ends up going for them.
yeah. And I think that like that's whenever you start getting depth like that, and you're starting to have tough conversations on like who needs to start. I think that's when you know that you're like doing things right, as like a club. And I know like right whenever it took a while for West Ham to kind of do anything after you guys sold Rice. So like to start bringing in people like that is like James Ward-Prowse and then Edson and all that stuff. And then you guys just got
Yeah, I don't know
the
why we
center
waited so
back, the
long.
Greek center back.
The
Yeah,
Greek
and so
center
like
back. He plays center back,
yeah,
right back. That could really help out with Soufal. I mean, I was a fan of Soufal too. Like I think 2 years ago when like West Ham was like finished top 8, top 9, top 8 to get to the Western I was just gonna say Western Conference League.
Like,
European Conference League championship. He was really solid. I think with Suchek too, and then now we had no other option at right back. We tried Ben Johnson. He was good for a little bit. I thought he was promising. He's a young, promising player, but then he couldn't do it. We got Thilo Kehrer, which I was a really big fan of, German international.
Yeah, I thought he was.
And he wasn't able to fit in either. He could get beat. Yeah, I don't know why. It just shows you how different Premier League is from like a bunch of leagues. It's really hard for people to adapt to. You can be crazy somewhere else and then come here and then, I don't know, physicality or whatever, pace of play. But it just shows how competitive it is, and I love it. But so I can play center back, right back. But I think our center back spots are really
coming from?
Stuttgart, I think.
Stuttgart, okay.
Germany.
Yeah.
I think they got relegated last year, if I'm correct.
Nah, and it was a pretty good
he was pretty. He was decent for them. Like, he was their best player for sure, I think.
Yeah,
I was looking at his stuff. Sense. But I think our center back spots are placed up. I like Zuma. I love Aguerd, or whatever you say his last name.
Yeah.
The, Moroccan. And he got his stupid red card last week. So maybe you get to see him this week, because it was an idiot. Like, I don't know why he tackled. He already had a yellow, and he went in super late in the midfield for no reason. But I love our center back positions. Like, again, maybe depth, and maybe he probably slides into that right back spot.
Okay. No, it's good to have. It's a long season, and you guys are in Europa League, right? Now that since you guys won the Conference League this year.
Yeah, so that's gonna be. You're really gonna need those players. Maybe we'll see a lot of more Edson too in those tournaments.
Yeah.
Maybe you let Suchek get that rest.
Because, I would be surprised that Edson kind of plays a little bit more in Europa League, especially because he has that like experience playing in like Champions League with Ajax and stuff like that too. Yeah. So,
and if you start to think about it, you put the pieces together with. That's what could have been last year. Like, we didn't have two squads.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch this play, Premier League, Conference League, FA Cup, it was almost it was the same team, but our keeper. It'd be Areola playing instead of Fabianski. But it was. I think that's what it was at the end of the day. Like, it really was. I mean, playing that much football, bro, that hurts. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's tough. And
so I think having that people to rotate is going to really help out.
Absolutely, and that's kind of could probably speak on why Suchek was like kind of had a bad season last year, because he's playing so many games and just not getting ready.
Yeah. And then one more thing with and we'll head over to the next game. Flint Downs was loaned out. It could have been a swap with Ward Prowse. He went to Southampton. He was supposed to be a really good, promising player when we got him from Swansea. I think he had like the best like passing completed percentage in championship. So everyone's like, "Oh, bro, this is gonna be like the Rice replacement or like the Mark Noble replacement." He just wasn't able to fit in, so he'll be on a season-long loan, playing 90 minutes, replacing James Ward-Prowse. So we'll see how he does too.
Yeah, no, and I think like I know like Spurs just loaned out Joe Rodon to Leeds or something like that too. So I think it's like good for like younger guys in their early 20s, so that maybe were like great championship players and came up and just like didn't really do anything in the Prem. So kind of get that rhythm back of playing every day, and
keep them consistently playing, because it's just going to hurt them playing on the bench or just staying on the bench. Like, practice works, but I think just game time experience is what's going to get you the best out of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I guess kind of the last thing that I want to talk about the game is, I kind of mentioned that we might need to have a conversation about Richarlison, but I think Chelsea fans kind of need to look inside and see like, hey, like, do we have what it takes to actually be a competitive team this year? One thing that I kind of was shocked was, since January 1st of this year, Chelsea has 5 wins in all competitions and competitive matches, so not friendly matches. Enzo Fernandez, big 120 million euro signing.
Mm-hmm.
He has technically it's 3 wins in the Premier League, but
I saw that tweet,
one win. Yeah, 1 win against an active Premier League team. So I just think that like I'll hit on it later, and when we start kind of talking about hot takes for the week, but I think Chelsea might be in some serious problems, and they have a run. I know you kind of mentioned last week about West Ham's run of fixtures that you guys kind of have coming up right now, but like Chelsea has a run of fixtures coming up in October, from October to December.
Yeah, let's see what they got.
I think they play Spurs, they play Arsenal, they play City. They play, I think, Brentford maybe too. Like, they play a lot of really, really good teams. And there's a very, very real shot that, in my mind, that Pochettino's not the coach come Christmas time.
Oh wow.
With how
Okay.
with how Chelsea kind of burns through managers and burns through teams. So I don't
Yeah, it
know,
wouldn't
man.
surprise me. That's the thing. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So, but anyway, kind of keep it moving. I know we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. The other two big games that were kind of on the docket this weekend was Manchester City and Newcastle. Ended 1-0 for Manchester City. Sorry. And really, the big thing that I wanted to see with this game is how City would react with losing KDB for an extended period of time with injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching the extended highlights, and like Phil Foden balled out. I don't
Dude,
know if
Phil
you had a chance
Foden's
to
a
watch him,
dog.
but like he's a
Phil
dog.
Foden's
And
an
I
absolute
was really
dog.
thinking, yeah. And my thought was like, this is kind of going to be the year that he's always been good, but I think this is the year that he like propels himself to be on the world stage, takes that leap, right? Because they like Gundogan's not there anymore, and like they just need somebody to like fill that midfield spot. And obviously, Pep is a great manager, but
yeah, he
like,
figures
and
stuff
especially
out.
with KDB being out for an extended period of time, like this is going to be Phil Foden's show to like basically run City and run their midfield. And really, the last thing that I have is I think that there's like a lot of people mention Erling Haaland when it comes to like being a really, really good goal scorer and being proficient at what he does. But there also is a narrative about how he just, in big games, he's not there. And another big game against another team that is, I would probably say Newcastle or a top 4 contender, he wasn't there. He didn't perform. And I mean, there was just, he probably had 5 or 6 shots. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but just scuffed a lot of them. Just really just wasn't there. And, you know, a lot of the playmaking was coming from, you know, Phil Foden really was pulling the strings, and then Julian Alvarez had a fantastic finish.
I think Pope could have done a little bit better. My little like inside like keeper instincts. Pope being that big, he's got to be more athletic. I think Pope is the biggest unathletic keeper I've seen in my life. If I'm being honest, he's what, like 6'6"?
Yeah, he's like 6'6". I think he's up there. I know that whole like the whole Newcastle defense aside from Trippier is like 6'3" up and up.
Oh,
so yeah, that's how they're so good last year on set pieces and stuff like that. So
I also think it was interesting just to see how you said Man City rebounding, or seeing how they would react to missing KDB, and then also just seeing Newcastle and see if, I know it's obviously a little too early to start putting measures on teams.
Title contender.
Yeah, but you see last week, you know, they dominated Aston Villa, 10-man, or not 10-man, but whatever. They got the injury with Mings, but then you got to play at Man City, and you wanted to see if Tonali, your flop of the season, and looked pretty bad. He was getting clowned all over social media. So
yeah, I mean,
I think that was a really good thing to see.
I'll tell you what, I'll take a victory lap whenever I get something right. It'll come eventually.
We need to. When we're in this podcast, if you get something right, we all need to take a lap.
I need something. But yeah, man. So I don't know. We'll kind of keep the eye on that as the season progresses. Be interesting to see, especially when like, I think like I'd already mentioned it, but Liverpool don't have a deep squad, but like City also are kind of in the same boat. Like they have the money to spend whatever they want, but when it comes into midfield, like I don't think that they really have that deep of a squad. So really with you know, Carabao Cup coming up, they won't play FA Cup till the start of the year, but like also Champions League and stuff like that, they're supposed to make a run. So like, it's curious to see when the fixture congestion happens, like how they react, and say somebody like a Foden gets injured, or what, God forbid, like Haaland gets injured. Like, what are they going to do?
I mean, they have Kovacic starting for them, bro. For God's sake.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy to me. He starts for City.
I think that, and I think that their defense is kind of going to be their saving grace of the year, because they have, they spent like 80 million on Gvardiol from Leipzig, and they just stuck him at left back versus playing him at his natural like left center back position. So, and then just having something like that, it's going to be hard to score against City, and they're going to be pretty damn good at that.
Yeah, and you said like injuries are going to come into play here soon too, I think. Yeah. The season just started, and you're already out with KDB and John Stones. That I think was really one of their like
he was
underrated players last season. Yeah, I think he was really underrated. He was playing everywhere, and he was amazing.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, it'll be interesting to see. And then the last really portion of the Premier League that I want to talk about is Brighton again. I'm so impressed with
Dude,
them.
they got to
And
be contenders, I think, at this point.
I don't see why they're not. I really don't. And Brighton beat they played Wolves. I think it was in Wolverhampton, and they won 4-1. And it was 4-0 pretty much like 55 or so minutes into the game.
Yeah.
Matoma, I don't know if you've had a chance to like really watch him, but he's
a dog.
He
Kept
is
an eye
a
on him
dog.
since last year for fantasy, bro, and
Yeah,
he was
for
my first
fantasy.
pick. Like my first it was Holland then him. I had to make sure they were on my team.
Yeah, on the team. Yeah, and he's just like he's an absolute stud. And I've seen like how I'd kind of mentioned Basuma being, maybe being a top 5 midfielder in the world. I mean, what's the saying that Matoma right now is in the top 5 winger in the world just with his form? I mean, he's playing unbelievable. And then the guy that's also playing on the other side of him is Solly Marsh, and another 2 goals from him, big chance created. I mean, he's not getting any love, but like on any other team, I think Solly Marsh is getting talked about. And then Stupinian, like I think he's in the conversation for probably one of the top left backs in the entire Premier League.
Yeah, he's
another
insane.
goal, 2 assists. Yeah, and then the guy that I was kind of really impressed with that I don't think we're kind of talking about enough is he plays like their 10, Julio Enciso, I think is how you say it. He's a 19-year-old Paraguayan. I think they got him in January maybe last year. 2 assists. His first assist on the goal to Solly Marsh, he was like on the left wing and hit like an outside of the boot, like cross to Marsh, like literally pin perfect. It was unbelievable. And just like he's just been pulling strings up there as they're like kind of like 10 position. And I really
19?
think like, for any 19-year-old Paraguayan, and to see somebody like that, and I think he's pretty much balled both of the games that they've had this season. So they're just, and then they're doing this with Danny Welbeck as their striker.
Danny Welbeck, baby. Manchester legend.
Like it doesn't make any sense. And I think De Zerbi is probably, in my opinion, probably the best manager right now in the Premier League. Him and Pep are up there, right there, and just like the job that he's doing. I mean, it's got to be a matter of time before somebody is looking for a new manager and tries to take him from Brighton.
I mean, it's not the first time it's happened, and knowing it's a step in the wrong direction for a Brighton manager.
Yeah, I know, right? So I mean, this the way that they're playing right now. I'm really excited to see them. I think they're in Europa League this year, if I'm correct, with West Ham. So I'm really, really excited to see what they do in Europa League whenever they start playing European competition. And seeing how their squad depth kind of.
I was gonna say, hopefully it doesn't come into like West Ham's like. I don't want to say you can compare them to West Ham's run that they had last couple seasons. With like being able to. I remember watching West Ham at some point. They were fighting top 4, the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you have this big fall, so you can kind of, or even maybe like a Leicester run, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like Brighton has a really good shot at having a Leicester run like that. And I mean, just if they keep playing the way they have been playing, and they haven't really played besides Villa, but I mean, whenever they kind of start getting into the traditional top 6, I'll be interested to see how they do.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how they do against my Hammers next weekend. So
I mean, come on now, though. I don't know about all that.
I don't know. I like faith. Come on, keep us up. We're undefeated right now, bro. We're undefeated.
Yeah, we'll see how long that stays. But and then really, one thing, the last like little note about that game is Wolves. So I know that I had kind of mentioned that I think I had Wolves rock bottom. And they just got pummeled. But when you kind of look at the stats, and I don't know what you kind of think about like expected goals and stuff like that, but they had 2.14 expected goals to Brighton's 2.22. So like expected goal wise, like pretty similar. But one thing that I think like is going to kill Wolves is that they missed 4 big chances. They went 0 for 4 when it comes to big chances, whereas Brighton I think went 3 for 4 and converted 3 of their 4. So that's something that when you have a really good chance at being relegated, like you can't let those chances go begging. And that was a big problem that Leeds had last year. And look what they're doing now. They're scrapping it out in their championship. So definitely a lot to be concerned about if you're a Wolves fan, which I don't know how many of them are.
I don't think I know any Wolves fan, man. There shouldn't be any Wolves fans.
No, not from the States. No way. But yeah, man, that's kind of all I had on the Premier League. Do you have any last thoughts or anything like that?
Nah, man, I think that's all I got. Our teams did
Cool.
good, and like, let's kick it to
Yeah.
the AU, Austin University, bro,
AU,
taking
yes. Yeah,
applications.
welcome to Austin University. So this is going to be, especially during the college football season, it's kind of going to be a recurring segment. We can talk about, you know, college football, what's going on, what are some of the big storylines. Being both of us being in Texas, I'm a TCU fan. A lot of what I'll talk about is the Big 12, just because that's kind of what I know, and that's what I spend time and pay attention to on a daily basis. But still, I kind of pay a lot of attention to college football landscape as a whole. And Ollie, I know that you're not like super big into it. This is going to be your first season really
Yeah,
following it. So I
I'm gonna
wanted
be
to kind of
intrigued
give
this
you,
year, so I'm learning with everyone.
yeah,
So I'm listening with ears
yeah. So
in this segment for sure.
I wanted to kind of give a little bit of breakdown on like what's currently going on in the college football landscape. So the first major thing that you need to be aware of is realignment. So, imagine like in the Premier League, you had teams like West Ham, or let's say the Big Six wanted to go and just form a Super League, same thing. Well,
Mm.
in college football, same kind of deal is happening, where the big major names, Oklahoma, Texas, they're moving to the SEC starting in 2024. UCLA and USC, they're moving to the Big Ten in 2024. So you're starting to see a lot of big brands move throughout the nation, and instead of worrying about playing local rivalry, they're getting paid to go play places. So they're going to these conferences that are getting the biggest payouts revenue-wise from television and ad revenue. So to kind of give you a little history on it, right? There's always been realignment throughout college football, but this most recent wave started in 2021 in the summer, where Oklahoma and Texas agreed to move to the SEC beginning in it was 2025, but they eventually negotiated it to be a year early to 2024. So that basically was the first domino to fall, and it kind of kicked this whole chain reaction of everything that progressed moving forward up really till current day. So in response, the Big 12 obviously losing two of their marquee teams, they go to add 4 teams. So they add BYU, Central Florida, Cincinnati, and Houston. Yeah, so basically now starting in 2023, you'll see BYU, UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati playing in the Big 12. And then it kind of after 2021, it was kind of calm until the next summer. So last summer, one of the big major dominoes that fell after that was USC, UCLA, and they're leaving the Pac-12 to move to the Big Ten. So they're playing Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan. So again, you're seeing conferences that aren't regional. They're nationwide, because USC and UCLA are based in Los Angeles, and now they have to go to New Jersey to play Rutgers, or Pennsylvania to play Penn State. So again, a lot of these big schools and big names are going to where the money's at. And then it was kind of quiet for a while after that. And then in July of this summer was when the next like major domino fell. And that was basically the fall of the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 as a conference losing its stability because Colorado decided that they're going to move to the Big 12 because they found that the Big 12 was more stable. They have the brands. TCU last season just went to the national championship game. So you're seeing that, even though it's not those top 2 conferences in the Big Ten and SEC, it's probably up there as probably the 3rd best conference. So, and then to follow them, the Pac-12 was further weakened by Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah moving to the Big 12, with Colorado starting in 2024. So you'll basically have the Big 12 as going to have 16 teams now starting next year, which is going to be awesome. It's going to be a great conference, a lot of fun, and a lot of old rivalries are kind of picking back up. And so really that caused Washington, Oregon to join the Big Ten, and that was really like the last major domino to fall. So now in the Pac-12, you have 4 remaining teams. Next year, you have Stanford and Cal, and then Washington State and Oregon State. They're kind of the last 4 that are like left hanging high and dry. So now it's like, what are they going to do? Are they going to add teams that are kind of on the western side? So like San Diego State, maybe. There's, talks of trying to, like, SMU has kind of had talks of trying to go over there, but really like what it's looking at right now is that Stanford and Cal are going to leave the Pac-12 to try and go to the ACC. which doesn't make sense because the ACC is literally the Atlantic Coastal Conference, and they're as far west as you can go. But like I said, at this point, it doesn't really make any sense region-wise. They're just going from so that's pretty much the landscape. There's a lot of moving pieces, and I think next year in 2024, it's going to be a very different landscape to what you're seeing. So that's what you need to know realignment-wise. So now, like, looking at the season coming up. So typically you have, the last 10 years it's been Alabama. That's kind of been the team to beat. The last 4 years it's been Georgia. Well, both of those teams are missing quarterbacks. They don't have a quarterback that's, Bryce Young, a Tua, even Stetson Bennett, who was the quarterback at Georgia the last 3 years that took them to back-to-back championships.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel about it too. Even like another power, like Ohio State's kind of always been in that top 4 conversation. They don't really have a quarterback. They don't have a guy like a CJ Stroud or who was even before that, Justin Fields. So there's a lot of big name teams that don't have those starting quarterbacks. So that leaves, who has the best talent out there. Teams to look out for. University of Texas. Everybody says it every year. Oh, Texas is back. They're always a top 10 roster in the entire college football landscape, but this is the year that a lot of people are saying actually is the year. Whether that's true or not, and they'll prove not to be Texas, we'll see. I don't know if I buy it. It'll kind of be one of those things as when I see it, I'll believe it kind of thing, especially since TCU kind of plays them every year. So I don't know, man. We'll see about that. I think Michigan is going to be really, really good. They're returning both of their starting running backs that ran for, I think they each ran over 1,500 yards last year.
My God.
Yeah, just absolute studs. They're returning their quarterback back, JJ McCarthy, who was, he was all right. He played pretty poorly in the Fiesta Bowl, which lost them the game, I think, against TCU. So, and they play good defense, but, to look out and kind of watch as like a storyline for them is they're really experienced. They play really good football. They're pretty sound, but are they going to be a team that, finally gets over that hump? I think this is 2 years in a row that they've lost the national semis. So what are you going to do? My probably preseason favorite to win a national championship is LSU. I think LSU, they always have the athletes to do it. They always have the recruits to do it. They have a pretty good quarterback that, I wouldn't be surprised to see take that like Joe Burrow level like step that, he did in his second year in the program. So I want to say he transferred to LSU from Arizona State, I think is where he transferred from last year, and played pretty well, beat Alabama in a big game in Death Valley. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of keep that up. Kind of on the West Coast, you have USC. USC has the reigning Heisman winner in Caleb Williams. He's going to be a stud and, is probably, I would say probably the favorite at the beginning of the year to repeat his Heisman, and then 2 to go first overall in NFL draft.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah, that's exciting. So I can't wait to. I don't watch college football, but I know. Was it Caleb Williams? Right, you said?
Yeah, Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I know he's supposed to he was tearing it up last year, and we'll see if he does it again this year and to put in the NFL too.
I mean, exactly. So they have a really good coach, Lincoln Riley. This is his second year now at USC, so those guys will kind of be in the system again another year, kind of figure out how to do it and how to play. And, just like I've kind of mentioned, like with Texas, they always have a good roster. Everybody wants to be in LA. They have the best talent from California, and really on the West Coast. So, coming maybe this time next year, like I wouldn't be surprised if they're somebody that, had a really good year and was in the national championship or won it. And I kind of left in here Georgia. They are losing a lot. They're losing their quarterback, which is a big piece, but they're still going to have the best defense in football. So I think that if you look at it that way, they're going to be a tough team to beat. And I don't know if they have it to go to kind of run the table and repeat, but they're going to be a really, really tough team. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're in that conversation for the best team in the nation the rest of the year. So in general, that's the college football landscape. There's a lot of fun teams out there that are smaller and stuff like that, but that's like the big things to look forward to coming forward. All right, and so the last thing to talk about football wise or college football wise is the Big 12. So I've kind of already mentioned it. So I have on here the Big 12 like media prediction. So Texas was pretty much the overwhelming favorite to be the winners of the Big 12. They had 41 first place votes. They're kind of everybody's pick to go from the Big 12 to the championship, which honestly, I think that there's a clear, like, in my head, there's 3 teams that really, really have a shot at doing so. And I think that's Texas, I think that's Kansas State, and I think that's TCU. I think that Kansas State returns a really good quarterback, and his name is Will something. I can't remember what it is, but he came into the season against TCU and just played lights out and ultimately kind of led them to the Big 12 championship last year over TCU. So I think that he's a really good quarterback, and their head coach, Chris Kleiman, is probably up there for one of the best teams or best coaches in the nation for sure. Oklahoma, I think that they have a lot of talent, but they were picked third, and I don't know. I genuinely don't think that they're going to kind of be what you think and what a lot of people expect. Texas Tech is kind of a sneaky, like, dark horse for the Big 12. There's a lot of people that are saying that their coach, Joey McGuire, is like one of those guys that's like a really, really good recruiter. They just had their best recruiting class probably of all time. And so they have a lot of like really good pieces, and they're a really experienced team coming back. So, I wouldn't really be surprised if you see them in Arlington playing in a Big 12 championship coming, December or whatever. And I'll kind of write it out with TCU. Obviously, they're my team, kind of home field favorite, but I think that they got better. They lost 8 people to the draft, but they are returning the guy that was originally supposed to be starting at quarterback before they got hurt to Matt, and having Max Duggan, the guy that was our quarterback the rest of the year, and eventually went to the Heisman and took us to the national championship. But Chandler Morris is the guy that's starting at quarterback, and he was the guy that's supposed to be starting over him. We returned like 7 defensive starters. Just had probably the best recruiting class in TCU's history. Probably a top 10 or top 15 transfer class in the nation. So they're going to be guys that are going to be really, really good, really experienced. I've played a lot of high-level football, so it's going to be really, really good. And honestly, my pick to go to the Big 12 championship is probably Texas and TCU. I think that they're the 2 teams that are the best and well-rounded and a lot of experience. A sneaky dark horse from like the bottom, like let's just call it the bottom 6 or 7 in the conference, is Central Florida. I think Central Florida has a lot of really, really good talent. They're a super big school in Florida, and they're able to get a lot of those guys that went to like a high level school, like a Florida State, Georgia, or something like that, and looking to come back home to Florida. So they have a really good transfer class, really good quarterback. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what they do, and I'm interested to see them playing, Power 5 football for the first time. But thank you for sitting in class at Austin University. That was a lot of college football, kind of drinking from our fire hose. My throat, I don't know if you can tell, I've had to stop like 4 times because I've been coughing from talking so much. So yeah, that is your first lecture. Ollie, do you have any questions on the landscape of college football?
Thank you, Professor. I think I learned a couple of things here and there. I will definitely be paying attention this year for sure, just because of this, and just, I don't know, I've just never been into it. Like, I just think obviously NFL is just better, but there's a debate of like, oh, but these guys are playing, harder to try and get their paychecks in the NFL, but in the NFL you're already getting paid, blah blah blah. But we'll see how it goes this year. But I don't know. I never had a team. I told you last year I was like, I'm following Ohio State. Like, Ohio State usually produce some big ballers. So Zeke and stuff like that. But yeah, just I guess one question was, so are you on board with the realignment stuff, like everyone moving to like the powerhouse basically?
I think it's a twofold kind of thing. I think that on like let's just say like a capitalism thing, like I completely understand, right? Like, and I understand that a lot of these schools, they're chasing the money, but like sentimental point of view, like it sucks because you grow up and you see you know, like OU and Texas, like always playing, and they'll still play, but like always playing in, you know, the Red River Shootout or Red River rivalry, and playing, you know, seeing TCU play them every year. Or like a big one is OU and Oklahoma State, like the Bedlam rivalry. Like you're not going to see that every year now because OU is, you know, leaving and chasing the bag to go to play these big schools. And like to see, you know, like a school like USC and UCLA move to the Big Ten, like they are literally going cross country. I think like worst case scenario, they could travel like 7,000 miles in a year to go play, you know, all these schools on the East Coast. And it just like, it doesn't make sense from a location side. And from like, I think I saw a tweet today that kind of sums it up perfectly. For a casual fan, it's awesome. It's fantastic. You see the biggest names play the biggest teams week in, week out. But from like a diehard fan, it sucks because those like regional rivalries that you have, you're just not going to get. So it's, you know, a double-edged sword. I understand it, but I can't say that I'm not a little hurt by it.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is I'll love watching it, so I picked the right time to watch it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there'll be a lot of really good games that like a lot of good games, fun games that like for the landscape of college football, it's entertaining to watch for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's like you said, I could bring you like briefly to a little bit to soccer, how they try to do like the Super League stuff.
Yeah,
It's gonna be like the same thing. I think if you're a casual, if you watch it, you're like, hey, like it's gonna be Real Madrid and Man City or whatever, like consistently more or whatever, like kind of like a fake Champions League or whatever. But then if from like a true hard like soccer fan, you're like, yeah, but then you miss like the like smaller teams playing the bigger teams in these small ass stadiums, or like you know them upsetting like the big dogs, you know, like Goliath versus David and stuff like that. Like you're not gonna be seeing that as much.
You miss a team like you miss a team like Luton Town going to the Premier League, playing week in and week out, and like from a college football landscape, it would be like in the early 2000s, like Boise State, and was like one of those schools that like were just like a mid-major team, but like had a chance to play Oklahoma and upset them in the Fiesta Bowl. And so like that's something that you're not going to be able to see as much or near as often because like this landscape is changing where, you know, people are chasing, like colleges and universities are chasing the money, which is understandable, and I get it because like that's how the world is ran, but like still it sucks.
I was say, as much as like it's terrible as it sounds, I mean it's a business at the end of the day. So that's what they're doing, you know. So
exactly,
only so much I can control.
That's it, man. That's it.
All right, closed my book, wrote down my notes. That was AU. We'll be school just started, so this was perfect, man. Everyone's back in school, so now we'll be back for next week. This is a weekly class.
That's it.
So hope you guys
college football starts this weekend. College football starts this weekend. So we got the first games.
So yeah, you'll tell me which ones to watch, bro, and I'll watch.
Absolutely, say less.
For sure. Okay, so let's take it on to All in the Outfield. If you can't put that together, it's gonna be a little baseball segment. You heard enough of Austin. Now you're gonna hear a lot of me. Hopefully you guys aren't tired yet. We're in this final stretch. So All in the Outfield is just gonna be some baseball news around the outfield. Like I said, it's not gonna be specifically Rangers unless the Rangers are pretty big on it. But to start off, I did a little bit on it at the beginning. I teased it. So the Phillies last night were the first team to use facial recognition for tickets instead of your phone. So you didn't have to scan in. If you had the ballpark app, it asked you, it's like, hey, do you want to try this feature today? It would scan your face, and you went up to the kiosk, scanned your face, and it said, okay, you have 2 tickets, go ahead. And it would count the 2 people, and then that's it. I thought that's crazy to me. I'm not on board with it, I guess, because like I'm a big like, what if it doesn't work and we rely on it? Like, oh my gosh, now you gotta get your phone out, blah blah blah. And it's almost like taking people's jobs in some certain sense, which I'm not a big fan of like computers taking jobs of like people. Like I used to work at Ranger Stadium, fun fact, so that was me. I was taking tickets, and it was like, imagine like, hey, we kind of just need you to sit there and make sure like it works, and I'm gonna be like, pointless. I mean, I was already kind of just standing there, but at least looked like I was doing something. So just a quick question: how are you on board with that? Would you be okay with that, or are you just kind of like that's kind of getting scary out there?
Yeah, I think it's like it's definitely weird to see, and like I've seen it in places like the airport or stuff like that, where like flying to Mexico, they'll basically instead of scanning the ticket, you'll do your facial recognition stuff. So like I understand it for things like that, but I don't necessarily think it's useful, or I don't think it's necessary for something like a sporting event. But I mean, I can also see where like it may be in a better investment for like teams and stuff like that to do. It kind of saves costs on employees or something like that. So I get it, but also definitely, is it necessary? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I agree. So we'll see if it was just that one stadium. I think it was just the Phillies testing it out. And hey, maybe next season at the All-Star game or watching the All-Star game here in Arlington, we're going to be using our face to get in. So
Yeah,
we'll see how that goes. Another thing, so the 23 draft class that just got drafted, maybe 2 months ago, maybe?
Yeah,
already making some crazy moves. Yeah, I think it was like 2 months ago.
Like July, early June for sure. So
yeah, so maybe 2 months, if anything.
Not even 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing that was that caught our attention was that the Angels are basically, I mean, they were all in, right, and traded for Lucas Giolito, blah blah blah, and now they're bad, and they for some reason activated Mike Trout today, even though I think they should have just shut him down. They're definitely out of playoff contention. They should have traded Ohtani, but that's a whole different thing. We'll see how that goes for the offseason for them. But yeah, they called up their first baseman Nolan Chenuel, I think it's I don't know how you say his last name.
Sounds good to me.
But he got called up, getting drafted 4 or 5 weeks ago, and they said, "Hey, playing first base, and you're leading off in front of Ohtani. So good luck." Crazy. So I guess he was tearing it up, but I was like, it's like if we called up Wyatt Langford, which I would not be opposed about. That was a little bit of my tease at the beginning. Was I talking about Langford or was I talking about Carter? I don't know. But I think that's just crazy to me how, like, where it just shows how you draft out of college and not like the high school guys, because obviously you're not going to see that from high school guys. College guys are a lot more closer to being ready, but the potential is just a lot more higher, I think, for high school if you do that. But yeah, he got already picked up, and that's like crazy to me. Like you said, like what if we see Wyatt Langford called up and you're just like, holy shit. And then we talked about it last week. If Langford could become called up to Double A at some point, promote him, get him up there, get some at bats. We see Paul Skeens already got moved up to Double A, and Dylan Cruz as well. That's for the top 4 picks right there, already making moves. I think the Angels had picked him at number 7. So it just shows you how this draft class was this year. And I mean, as it looks like for now, it is a little bit more when we get to Rangers baseball, like outfielders is what we need. And maybe we see Wyatt Langford starting for us next year or coming up mid-season.
Yeah, there was a lot of talent in that draft class, and I think there's more and more prospects, I think, every day that are getting moved up like that. So,
yeah, which is
really impressive.
Yeah, another big thing I didn't write on there, but Paul Skeens is living his life, and he has Livy Dunn or whatever as his girlfriend. So he's living the life. He's pumping 100 with Pittsburgh, and then he has Livy Dunn as his girlfriend watching him play. So that's pretty cool. Another thing, which is bad for the Rangers, fucking J-Rod, bro. I don't know if you've seen this, bro. He had 17 hits in 4 games.
Yeah, I did not.
He was 17 for 22.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. And I know that
he was 17 for 22.
Seattle's been like unbelievably hot right now
since the All-Star break. I think they're like something like 32-12 or what I told you.
32. Yeah, I think he said 32-12, which is.
And I think they won today because they played the White Sox.
Yeah, the White Sox just fired their general manager too.
They're cleaning house. I think they're trying to do some Ranger stuff. Maybe it's like, hey, the Rangers last year they cleaned house, and look at them now.
Look at them now. Yeah.
So he also so J-Rod did something that if you listen to it and you go, man, it doesn't seem like no one's ever done this before. It's because no one has. He surpassed the 16 hits by Milt Stock by the Brooklyn Robins in 1925.
Yeah, I can't see if
he bumped up his average, I think, by like 12. His batting average went up by like 12.
0.12. That's crazy. Already like 500 plate appearances. Yeah, 500 plate appearances in already, and just to bump it up that fast in a week is
and like it just shows like it's just how baseball is. J-Rod had a really rough start. I remember people were comparing J-Rod's stats to Leody Taveras, and I don't even want to talk about Leody Taveras right now. My God. But they're like, oh, look at this, look at these stats, and then look at J-Rod just being J-Rod. Was he rookie of the year? Yeah, he was rookie of the year, right?
I think he was rookie of the year. Yeah, he's rookie of the year.
Yeah, and then he was in the home run derby, blah, blah, blah. He's living life, and he also bagged Antonio Davies' girl. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, Jordan. I don't know how to say her last name.
I don't know her name is, but she went from Davies to J-Rod, and I'm just like, wow, okay. So that's J-Rod. He's living the life, kind of like Paul Skeens. So another thing, sticking with Seattle and how hot they are, it's pissing me off. It's kind of scary. We'll get to that again when we get to Texas Rangers talk, but Luis Castillo versus the White Sox last night threw 47 consecutive fastballs to the White Sox. Yeah, and they didn't catch on until like maybe towards the end.
When you saw that, or when I saw you write that down, I thought it was a typo. I thought it was like bullshitting. But there's the 40. How many innings was that over?
I was trying to. I never got to figure. I was trying to figure out what like if someone wrote the stat line of what his like from what inning to what inning.
Yeah.
But he just threw 47 consecutive fastballs. He was just pumping it. He's like, you know what? These guys aren't hitting. I'm going to just keep throwing fastballs. And I think he maybe gave up one run, if anything. I know the final score was like 11-2. But
yeah, yesterday he went 7 innings for 5 hits and 1 earned with 9 strikeouts. That's 47 straight fastballs.
And you tell me you don't catch on after seeing 20 consecutive fastballs when you're up on deck and the guy strikes out. He goes, hey, man, he's just been throwing fastballs. Why don't you just sit fastball? Like you guys are in the dugout like, hey, bro, he's throwing just fastballs. Hey, he's throwing just – like it just shows you how things checked out they are and how like disrespectful. It's like when you play like Oakland or White Sox, you're just like, dude, I could care less. Yeah, and like you said, maybe they were up already by a big margin. He said, if I give up a solo shot, I give up a solo shot. He's like, I'm just trying to get out of this. I'm just trying to take me out, coach. And it's just crazy to me, the level of disrespect from Luis Castillo against the White Sox.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And maybe they saw that yesterday, and then they just decided to fire the managers and the GM or whatever. They said, hey,
you guys it was a 14-2 loss, so.
Yeah, and it said, you guys saw 47 fastballs, and I don't know what y'all did with that. I don't have the numbers for it, but not enough, clearly.
Yeah, you got cooked.
Yeah, so and then we'll talk about, okay, now that's all in the outfield. Hope you guys liked it. We're catching balls out there. Pause. Yeah. But now we're gonna go to the Jinx of the week. We have it pretty bad here. It started with Austin.
Yeah, so I'll give a little bit of background, right? So
you have a lot. You have a big list.
I got a big list, right? So one of the things when you start a podcast, you don't think about the fact that like, oh, everything that you say is recorded, and you can think about like, oh wait, was this right or was I wrong? What's my batting average? Going back to Oli and Outfield. Well, let's flash forward to the first episode. We were talking about the Women's World Cup. I said that I thought Brazil was going to win the Women's World Cup. Well, later on, the night after we had recorded the podcast, Brazil proceeded to lose and then get eliminated in the group stage of the World Cup. So that's, strike one. Week 2, we're recording and I'm talking about Harry Kane, and I was like, oh, Harry Kane's going to stay. He's going to stay at Spurs. He's not going to go to Bayern. With Kane, Spurs are going to have a chance to compete for a title. Well, literally 24 hours later, Harry Kane ends up moving to Bayern, playing that weekend for them. So that's cool. Flash forward or rewind back to last week. Well, Ollie starts talking about, and the one thing that he and we were talking about the Rangers, and he was like, oh, hey, what do you think our record is over the next 6 games? And I was like, 4-2. We've been playing really well, good baseball. 4-2, 3-3 at worst. The 6th game of the Rangers is underway, and we'll talk about it. They currently went on to lose the next 5 games. So maybe
the longest losing streak of the season. Longest losing streak of the season.
So,
and at first I was like, we're good luck, because ever since we started our podcast, they went on that 8-0 run. They're longer 7-8, right? And we're like, dude, this is the longest win streak. Like, we got to keep going. Like, they're winning because of us. But now it seems like they're losing because of us. Or you. I'm going to say you.
Jinx.
Not me.
I think it's got to be me.
Ravens lose because of me. I'll take that one.
You're not clear. You're not in the clear.
I was like, I'll take that one. Like I said. Yeah, I talked about the Ravens preseason record. And we talked about, hey, do you think people like the Ravens are trying hard for it? Or does the league around look at them and look at those fucking tryhards? Look at those pussies just trying to win preseason games. Like we could give two shits. But the Commanders gave some shits. Did you see the way they reacted when they won?
They were pumped.
They were pumped. They were so happy. So clearly people do care about the preseason record and finally got snapped. I was like, all my years watching football, I was like, obviously preseason, who cares? And the one time that I started a podcast, I was like, hey, let's talk about the preseason record. Like, they're going crazy. And then all of a sudden, it's over. It's donezo.
It's cooked. Yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see what I say this week that is jinxed next week. Jinx of the week, if we have something that's jinxed, we'll come back. We'll fact check ourselves. We're going to be an honest podcast here, and we're going to face our adversity head on. But just know, when we do get something right, You will hear it.
You'll
hear it. You'll know.
You'll hear it.
And, kind of coming to the next segment, our last segment of 4 is, hot take of the week. What do we think is going to happen? And whenever what I'm about to say eventually happens, you will see me taking a victory lap. I want everybody to know this. My hot take of the week is that Mauricio Pochettino, the manager of Chelsea, will be fired by Christmas. I think that's going to happen. I really do. I think that you invest $1 billion within 12 calendar months. You have a pedigree of Mauricio Pochettino of like succeeding in the Premier League. I don't want to say winning because we haven't won. He hasn't ever won the Premier League. I know that personally. But I think that, he's a great manager, but I just think that Chelsea doesn't have what it takes. I think their recruitment strategy is bad, and they churn through managers like it's nothing. I think they had 3 managers last season between Graham Potter, 4 if you talk Thomas Tuchel, Graham Potter, and then 2 interim managers. So I think that they don't have patience. They don't know how to get out of their own way. Mauricio Pochettino will be fired by December 25th, by Christmas time.
No, I think that was a little personal coming from you, from a little Spurs.
No, it is.
That might be a little personal from you.
100% is personal, but I think that he has a contract till 2026, and it's going to be cut short in 2023. 4 months from now. Wow. It'll be this time. You think?
To add on to that, you think he's the first manager to go in the Premier League?
No. I don't think so. I think Sean Dyche is the first manager to go.
I'm not Big Sam. Not Big Sam.
Not Big Sam. No. Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche.
Sean
Dyche is the guy. Okay. Yeah, he's gonna be the first one to go. I think that.
Okay.
I think
all
that.
Right, so not to my hot take.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So you went long term with it, and we both would know. I didn't know what your hot take was going to be. You don't know what my hot take's going to be.
Yeah, I had no clue.
But they're both pretty long term, like you did. So you went to December. So this could just mean anything. I've been pretty pessimistic about this. I haven't tried to get my hopes up on anything. It hurts me to say this. Like, it really hurts me. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this.
No, I don't. But I feel like it's Cowboys.
You're close. It's not Cowboys. Not yet. Once football starts, maybe that'll be one of my hot takes. But
yeah,
the Texas Rangers will miss out on the playoffs.
Yeah, that was my second guess. This right now, they're getting.
I didn't want to say it
at the wrong time. They're getting cold.
I didn't want to say it, but you're 3 games away of losing, and 3 games of the other teams winning for you to be out of playoffs.
Yeah.
And I just our closing situation's bad. You bring in. We'll get to this here in a bit after this, but you. No, we just transition to it. Screw it. We'll transition to it. Texas Rangers. We're talking Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
Now. They will not be making playoffs. You heard it here first. Okay. They will not be making playoffs. I'm not confident. If you guys know me, I have yet to get on social media and talk massive shit. I think the one time I talked massive shit was when Marcus Semien was talking shit, and I feel like I just had to. So that's when I was talking shit. But I was just, sitting there keeping my mouth shut because I was like, I don't know how long we can keep this up for. And we've been on top for so long, and then we lose games, and then Astros can't seem to bump us. But then the Mariners are getting hot, and I thought the Mariners were a really good team from the get-go. I had them second or first between the Astros, and they decided to get hot all of a sudden. They were pretty bad at the beginning. They traded for Castillo, extensions, J-Rod, and all these guys. They have a pretty good pitching staff, and like I said, it's just you lose. We won no games. We go into our biggest losing streak of the season, up to 5. And
about to be 6.
What's the score for that? Are you looking at it right now?
I'm looking it up right now. You keep talking. I'll tell you what the score is. But it's not looking good.
So, as we're recording this and they're playing their second game against the Diamondbacks, wasn't looking good towards the middle of this podcast, but
5-1 in the top of the sixth.
Okay, it might be 6 in a row, so my hot take maybe is not so hot take. It's just kind of obvious, I guess, that the Rangers will not be making playoffs because the Mariners and the Astros indeed did win. So now everything goes back one game. So I think it's like 1.5 and 2 games now. Or one, maybe.
I will say I was trying to be, pretty spicy, and I was like sitting here kind of cook something up. And my second was going to be that the Astros weren't going to make the playoffs. So I don't know.
Wow.
I mean, that was my second one, but I couldn't pull the trigger. I really had a personal vendetta that I had to get off my chest. And
it seemed like both your hot takes were two personal vendettas.
They will. And I'm a big like, dance on somebody's grave. And you see that meme, right? Like, I'm a big dance on somebody's grave kind of thing, and it is what it is. It'll come back to get me. It will. It 100% will. But I'll tell you what, I'm gonna enjoy that dance. I will.
Oh God. But we'll try to keep it short and sweet. But what's behind this Rangers losing streak is that it really hasn't been our pitching until kind of yesterday, and you can't even really blame it on them. I think our starting pitching did pretty well over the span of the break. We just were not given any type of run support. Offense went cold. And then last night's game against the Diamondbacks, whenever this one's filmed, but it was the first Diamondback game. You go in and you have Montgomery pitch a solid 8 innings at a really good pitch count.
Great game.
And I was going to ask you, if you're in that situation, do you roll Montgomery out there again, try to get the complete game shutout, or are you okay with bringing in Chapman?
Yeah. No, I think you have to. I think that I say that you just have to give him that opportunity. Yeah, you have to give him that opportunity. I think he was at like 94 pitches, 95 pitches going into the
94, 92. I forgot what, but it was a 94, 92. Yeah.
It was something like that. So going into the ninth inning, I think he's done everything right. Why? Like, what's the reason of taking him out? I think that's at that point in the season, you need to do something to stop the skid. So I guess I get it. Chapman has been pretty good this season, especially since he came to the Rangers from Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the decision, but I think hindsight's 2020, and I think looking back at it was the wrong one.
And that's the thing. I mean, that's baseball. I mean, you could bring 2 scenarios up within the last week. They had Bruce Bochy on today on The Fan. I was listening to them. They had him interviewing today. And he goes back to you talk about when they went to go play against San Francisco, extra innings, and you put in Will Smith instead of probably Chapman, I think. And you could have flip-flopped them, and then Will Smith gets 2 outs, and he got the 2 outs again this time. And then he gives up the home run to Patrick, I forget his name, but the guy from the Giants.
Is it Marte?
Yeah, Marte was this one, and the Giants one was the Giants series back then. So it was the same pitching situation.
Oh, yeah, sorry,
Yeah. So you give up a homer with Will Smith, and then you come this time, and you're like, okay, he probably hears or whatever, says, hey, our fan base has been bitching at me that we should put Chapman in a closing role. You put Chapman in a closing role, and he gets the outs, and then he puts a split finger right down the cock to get to Marte and just pimps it. So I don't know what, it was just bad placement. It was one pitch. Yeah. Like you said, we say now it's probably the wrong decision. We don't know if Montgomery does it. I think it would have been the 4th time he faces them. It would have been lefty-righty, same thing. But if you do it again, it's you have Chapman with the heat. You have him up and ready. You'd rather be safe than sorry, but you don't. That's the thing. We don't know. We could talk about all these predictions. What could have happened if you kept him in? I don't know. But I think I would have been more on your wave. Let's give him a shot.
Give him a shot.
Even though it was one run, he gives up a solo.
And keep him with a short leash. I think you keep him with a short leash, right? You let, let's say you get somebody on second, pull him, yank him. Even if he gives up a hit, even if he gives up one hit, even if he gives up a hit, take him out. I think that you just at least give him that opportunity to finish the game out, and you never know. So
yeah,
and I think that's definitely something that is what it is. But like I said, hindsight's 2020. We said it. When we go golf, that's golf, baby. Well, that's baseball. So
that's baseball.
What are you gonna do?
It sucks, bro. It sucks. Baseball fucking sucks, bro. I hate this stuff.
Yeah,
that's why I don't get my hope. That's why I don't get my hopes up. We're about to go on a 6-game losing streak, and I'm telling you. So
That's brutal.
Yeah, I mean that's really all I have over the Rangers over the week. There's nothing really to talk about other than being cold on offense. And
like you said, I think the pitching's been fine. It's just you got to get the bats going. Josh Young coming back would be great. Looks like we're about to get Eovaldi back, so I mean that's big time. But like still, like you said, pitching hasn't really been the issue. I think tonight has kind of been the worst pitching performance that we've had. But we just got to get the bats going, and I think that's that comes from somebody like you need Marcus Semien to get hot. You need guys at the start of the season that were raking and were pretty successful to get going. And I sent you a tweet earlier today, and the offensive skids from the Rangers was crazy. Adolis Garcia, 3 of his last 27 and 7 in his last 7
don't
games.
even get me started on him. I told you, bro. I've been a big hater on Adolis. On my team, I don't like to be like. It's just I have him on a short leash.
That is crazy.
I have him on a short leash.
You are a hater.
I see him swinging at balls in his eyes, bro, and he swings, and I'm like,
what are you doing?
You see what I mean, bro? But then he gave us the 1 run yesterday, and I said okay, and I didn't even give him props. You texted me, and I said about time. That's literally what I said. I didn't even say let's go. I said about time, you homers, bro. Oh my god.
Yeah. So it's abysmal all the way around. And then a guy that you had mentioned earlier, Leote, he's 3 of his last 22 in the last 6 games. So we need somebody. We need somebody to give us a spark. It can't be Corey Seager every single game. Because eventually he's gonna fall. So we need somebody. But
yeah, I
mean, that's kind of all that's all that's left on the Rangers. I mean, hopefully, by the time that you and I are at the game on Labor Day, they're kind of back up and kicking.
We might just be out of playoffs contention.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Yeah, you got to stop being a pessimist, bro. You got to stop being a pessimist.
One more thing, we'll be on the road for the remainder of the remainder of the month. We're gonna go to New York. And then who else do we have?
Do we have the Mets or the Yankees?
Oh, is it Mets and Yankees?
I don't know. I'm asking you. I'm asking you. Is it Mets or Yankees?
I thought it was the Mets.
It's got to be the Yankees.
We go Minnesota.
Minnesota
then Mets. That's what I was trying to figure out who was in between.
Okay, 4-game series against Minnesota and Mets. Maybe we prove that the AL Central is dog water and we can, sweep that.
You better hope so. Yeah. And then one thing that I like, Mets are Mets, and you're probably gonna see. Never mind. I don't think you'll see Scherzer against them. He'll probably play a pitch against Minnesota.
He pitched last night, so 1, 2. Nah, he'll pitch. I think he'll pitch on Monday. Nope, that's John Gray. Yeah, he'll pitch against the Twins on Sunday. Nope, I lied. He'll pitch against the Twins on Saturday.
I don't know. Yeah. But one thing, like I said, with the guy that maybe gets called up and puts Leote on the hot seat. I mean, we saw it with JP. I'll make it short and sweet, but maybe you see Evan Carter get called up and they say, "Hey, screw it. Sorry, we need something."
Just skip AAA.
I don't know. Maybe.
I can't say I wouldn't be opposed. Wouldn't be opposed. This is about the time last year that Josh Young got called up.
Yeah, but we were bad also.
Yeah, that's probably fair. That's fair.
And he was bad too. But that was like just what we did.
We didn't. Yeah, what is
but
it?
Yeah.
But anyway, try to round out the last little bit of the stuff going around. We've kind of gone really long today. The Cowboys, so they had their second preseason game. Again, preseason results do not matter. I do not care about them in the slightest. Ended up losing 22-14 in Seattle. One concerning thing, though, about the depth of the defense is that we gave up 4 25-yard or greater plays in the first half. So, short yardage stuff we were doing all right, but just giving up big chunk plays, that's a pretty big concern. That's something that you have to you really have to figure out. You can't have happen, especially when it comes to the regular season. So, hopefully it wasn't a lot of starters and it wasn't a lot of, guys that are going to be playing every week. And I think I saw one tweet making rounds. It was like Deron Bland getting cooked for a long touchdown, or somebody of that caliber corner getting cooked.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, Trayvon Diggs at it again. But it wasn't Diggs, so
it might have been, I think, Eric Scott Jr., which I was pretty high on too. Over
so it was somebody
or training camp.
But, it wasn't our guys. So, and then a big kind of concern from the game is we lost 2 guys to torn ACLs. DeMarvion Overshawn, who was a 3rd-round pick from the University of Texas at linebacker, he was really, really impressing during camp. So it's kind of a big blow that we lose him because he could have provided pretty good linebacker depth, kind of behind guys like Micah and Van Der Esch and Jabril Cox and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we had an undrafted tight end, John Stevens, also towards ACL. A lot of stuff that I heard about him was that he was performing pretty well.
Yeah, he was a wide receiver turned tight end, is what I heard.
Yeah, so I feel like he probably could have been probably a practice squad guy or a special teams contributor. So definitely sucks. And, for those guys, 2 rookies to kind of tear their ACLs and have their season shut down like that, it definitely sucks. But
yeah, that's what I hate about
that's the nature of the
these
beast,
preseason games, bro. You see guys end their season and it's like you said, it's guys that are trying to fight for their position still. Obviously, trying to make the 53-man cut, and then you got stuff like this that happens to you, and you just don't know if you're ever going to get that chance again. If you're on your rookie contract, you if you get drafted and stuff, we're talking about undrafted guys or you guys you just pick up, it's just I got to prove myself, and you get hurt, and then what do you do? There's nothing you could have done differently.
Exactly. So especially freak stuff like that, it's just, what are you gonna do, man? You get rolled up or you just non-contact.
I don't know if you saw the play where he got hurt. He was towards the sideline, and I mean, you kind of but it wasn't anything someone need a knee or a bad tackle. It was just his foot just kind of planted wrong and made his knee go the other way.
Just gets caught in the turf. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a even greater discussion on. I know Seattle was a turf field, so it's an even greater discussion that there's constantly going on in NFL with players and the owners on turf or turf versus natural grass. So maybe that doesn't happen on a natural grass field. The grass maybe gives and allows his foot to slide versus getting stuck in the turf. So it sucks, man. But unfortunately, the NFL is a business and it moves on and is what it is. So we have some other big concerns are offensive line depth. Offensive lineman Matt Waletzko just had another shoulder injury, so he missed his rookie season. It was last year or the year before, because of shoulder surgery. But the good news on the injury is that it was his opposite shoulder from the shoulder that he had surgery on. So not it's a recurring problem or anything like that. But he was in line to be basically our second string tackle on both sides. So he's going to be the swing tackle, be able to play both sides and all that stuff. So definitely kind of a concern when it comes to depth. But I did hear something from, it was either Steven or Jerry or Big Mike that said that, we're not really concerned about the offensive line depth right now. That today was the first time that our full starting offensive line has practiced together since camp of last year with Tyron and Tyler Smith.
Oh, yeah, having everyone healthy.
Having everybody healthy. So going all the way down the line. And at first, it was Tyron Smith that wasn't healthy. Then I don't remember who was hurt. Then Terrence Steele was hurt.
Terrence Steele
was hurt, and then Zach Martin was holding out. But today was the first day that we had all 5 offensive lineman starters healthy in practicing together. So that's a big deal for the Cowboys, and hopefully we get that Great Ball of Dallas kind of back and kicking and rolling, and hopefully it kind of shows.
But the thing is, one of those guys is going to go down. O-line's going to go down.
Bro, are you going to be a pessimist? Are you going to be a pessimist no matter what?
Have you not been listening to me this past few weeks? You know where I'm at with this, bro. I'm down here. I'm down here with team. But I'm saying in general, not just the Cowboys. We have Tyron Smith. That's probably going to go down by week 2.
Yeah,
I'm saying in general, O-linemen, there's just some big guys that just take one guy getting under them or just ugh. Yeah. And that's just a lot of weight. Yeah, that's a big boy weight. So I'm saying
yeah, man.
O-lines are hard to get.
I get it.
It is.
Yeah,
and I get it. The depth is even worse. But it's not that a lot of people have O-line depth though. It's not. It's a NFL reoccurring thing.
It's tough, man. And then so other big storylines around the Cowboys. They play their last preseason game this weekend against the Raiders in Dallas, which is cool. They play Saturday at 7. And then Stephen Jones was kind of on the radio. I think it was today. And one of the big quotes that I saw was, they were talking about Jalen Tolbert, and he said that Jalen Tolbert has been extremely impressive during camp and is firmly planted at that wide receiver number 4. So we had kind of talked about him, I think each of the last 2 podcasts, about how, he's been really, really impressing. And that's something that's, really good news to hear. And having a second-year guy like that step up and really be kind of entrenched as one of the guys is really impressive. So And then the last thing is should, and I know I kind of texted you about this, is should or will the Cowboys trade for Jonathan Taylor? It's probably not likely, especially after Zeke, and giving Zeke a big contract. And I know Jonathan Taylor, like one of the big things that he wants with his next team from the Colts or after the Colts is he wants a contract that guarantees him money. And I genuinely don't think that the Cowboys will do it again after they paid Zeke and they saw it backfire. So it's a pipe dream. I've seen a lot of people on like SportsCenter and ESPN talking about it, but I don't think that it's something that is legitimate. And I think it would have to be a first round pick, which genuinely,
they're asking for I think for more of what they gave up for McCaffrey. And McCaffrey, I think, was a second round pick. So yeah, you're looking for a first, and then
yeah. So I don't see that's something that's gonna happen. It would be sick to get somebody like a Jonathan Taylor, but I mean, I think Stephen Jones again said that they're pretty happy with the running back room.
And that's a lie again.
Tony Pollard.
Yeah, like they just love lying to us.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. I'd probably put it at a 25% chance that Jonathan Taylor is playing for the Cowboys because I wouldn't be surprised.
And that's pretty big.
Really
25% is massive, I think.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do something. I mean, we saw when they traded for Amari Cooper, right? That they finally went out and addressed the need. But
you gave him up for a bag of fucking chips now.
Yeah, that's wild. Don't even get me started on that. That was stupid. But yeah, man, that's the Cowboys. So have the last preseason game, and then I think Sunday Night Football against the Giants is their first regular season game.
Yeah, we're close to it, man. I'll be on the flight back from California. I think it's September 10th.
Yeah, September 10th.
I'll be on the flight back from California. I'll be landing like at 7:20, so like right on kickoff. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna just hurry my ass wherever I'm at. Boom. What?
Yeah, first quarter doesn't matter.
Since when did the first quarter not matter?
Okay, I say the second and third quarter don't matter. Sorry, let me reiterate that. My prime time on Sundays during a 1 o'clock kickoff or noon kickoff. You watch the first quarter, take the nap during the second and third quarters, wake up for the fourth quarter. That's the way to do it.
You telling me you don't stay up through red zone?
No, brother, no, I don't. I sleep right through the second and third quarter every time I'm on the couch. That's the best. I'm telling you.
You don't have nightmares about your fantasy team? You don't watch your fantasy players?
What am I going to do? What can I do from my couch? What can I do from my couch? Wow. It doesn't matter. You're running from the smoke.
If only everyone could be realistic as you, right? Like, no, I'm yelling at my TV and yelling at my players.
I'll watch it, but I'm saying, like, I enjoy a nice nap on a Sunday. Sue me. I don't know what to tell you.
You're gonna get sued. You're gonna get sued. I'm gonna sue you. You should be sued. That's crazy. Napping through red zone football. Wow.
Crazy.
That's insane to me.
Yeah, man. And then, so yeah, Dallas Mavericks is the next thing. What do you got on the
some news at least.
A little bit.
JaVale McGee finally. It seems like he's gonna get let go. I don't know what wave and stretch means. What does that do you know what that means?
So basically, like the remaining amount of money on his contract. So I think last year we signed him on a 3-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
So the remaining amount of money, I think he signed like a 3-year, was it $12 million deal maybe?
Something like that.
But basically the remaining money on his deal will get stretched over 4 or 5 years. So it hits the cap less.
Even though we waived him, we're still going to be paying him.
Yeah, so we'll pay him we won't pay him. I guess, yeah, we will pay him. But it's like on the cap, it's just stretched over a certain number of years. And there's only, so it's good because it frees up a little bit of cap space. You have a little bit more room. But bad because it stays on the cap for longer. So that's kind of the opportunity cost between the two.
Wow. Well, that was a shit signing. I remember I was kind of happy when we signed him too.
Yeah,
I was excited just because I was like, dude, we saw him with the Suns. He teared us apart at some points, but I mean, I should have known that every damn center tore us apart, and they will keep tearing us apart. So we make any center look good. He had some some kind of spurts here and there where he would just like become like prime JaVale that you knew and loved and won championships with, but then it's couldn't get going, man. So we're still struggling with that center spot, and we'll see if DeAndre Ayton will be starting for us by tip-off.
Fingers crossed. I don't know. Clint Capello could be nice too. Give me somebody, please. Somebody else other than Dwight Powell. That'd be nice. And then really the last thing we got is FC Dallas is finally back and kicking. We got a game on Saturday, Copa Tejas, between FC Dallas and Austin FC. Nice little rivalry game. I have some friends coming up from Austin that are Austin FC fans, so I'm going to be at the game, and I will report back on how it is, but just kind of give a little like form check going into the game. So Austin FC haven't won since they've won one game since July 12th, which is going on a month and a half. I know a lot of that was during Leagues Cup action, but they just got obliterated by St. Louis SC, or St. Louis City, and 6-3 in St. Louis.
My God.
So, yeah, man, that's a high-scoring game. Just a regular game too. No pins or anything. I guess Austin had a penalty that they converted, but still, like, unbelievable. So, I think FC Dallas has kind of played a lot. They played a lot of really, really good ball, kind of in Leagues Cup, and I'm really, really hoping that that's something that they can kind of continue doing and keep going, kind of through the end of the season. I know that this is the first time all year that they're out of the playoff picture. I think they're sitting in 10th place, and Austin is in 7th. So, really bad form kind of going into Leagues Cup, and definitely something that they're kind of going to need to pick up and hope that they kind of figure out and do well. But yeah, man, that's pretty much all I had. I don't know. I mean, do you have any other? We kind of went pretty long today, which is good because we had a lot of good conversation, a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Right, I think that's good. Yeah, we had some different segments in, and that was a big introduction to you. It was the first day of class, longer than expected. I thought it was gonna be 5 minutes. I thought it was just syllabus and that's it. But no, gave me some homework.
Yeah, man.
Kind of mad about that.
I am long-winded at times, which is I need to figure out. Because my throat cannot handle it.
Yeah, you need to know when to stop, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Oh God, but no, anyway, I think it'll get better next week. It'll be fine. I think you'll finally get the professor thing going. You'll have it down, and we don't have to talk as much because I think hopefully I did my homework. And
it was a history lesson. I had to give you the background that we can figure it out. So
exactly.
But anyway, well, that is another episode of Austin Oli. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, follow us on TikTok. Follow us on our socials. Mine and Ollie's socials will be in the description of the podcast, in description of the YouTube video. Our account TikTok will be in all that as well. So yeah, man, we'll be posting TikToks kind of throughout the week, doing all that stuff. So yeah, go boost us, go give us some love, share, and tell your friends about us. It really helps us grow, and we're having a lot of fun doing this. And we may not have a ton of people yet, but we're working, we're growing, we're getting bigger.
We're getting there, man. It's our month anniversary.
We're getting there. So yeah, that's it, man. So again, thank you guys so much for listening. There's another episode of Austin and Oli. We'll see you guys next week. Adios.